Good evening, everybody. We're going to start breaking the news with a day in court. This morning, attorneys for the assistant chief of police in Minneapolis faced off with lawyers for Alpha News and its reporter Liz Collin. At issue, did Collin and Alpha News defame the assistant chief in a film and a book telling their version of events in the police murder of George Floyd? Lou's here now with the story.
Yeah, Janet, defamation is hard to prove for public officials, but Assistant Chief Katie Blackwell says she has new constant fear of being followed, stemming from what she says were lies Liz Collin in her book and documentary said about Blackwell. But Collin's attorney says that Blackwell has failed to state exactly what was a lie. The lawyer is asking for the case to be dismissed before they even get to the point of testifying. So today there was a motion to dismiss the case to be heard in court, and Collin's team asked for dozens of their supporters to come and support them. And let's take a look at the story now.
With dozens of supporters packing the Hennepin County Government Center, including former Minneapolis police officer J. Alexander King, who served about 2 years in prison for his role in the death of George Floyd, Liz Collin's attorney, Chris Maddle, argued for a defamation lawsuit filed against Collin and media outlet Alpha News to be dismissed.
Time and time again, Liz Collin has shown up, done the hard work.
Collin is being sued by Assistant Minneapolis Police Chief Katie Blackwell, based on her portrayal of Blackwell in Collin's documentary The Fall of Minneapolis and book They're Lying. Blackwell was a key witness in the murder trial of former Minneapolis police officer Derek Chauvin as the former head of MPD's training department.
Is this a trained technique that's by the Minneapolis Police Department?
It is not.
In April 2021, with a photo of Chauvin's knee to George Floyd's neck on the screen, Blackwell testified that MPD trained officers to use their arms for neck restraints instead of legs.
And how does this differ?
I don't know what kind of improvised position that is. So that's not what we train.
I'd like to show you what's been received as exhibit.
Collin's movie and book
17.
include segments about MPD's maximal restraint technique, a move that does involve the knee to the shoulder or neck while making an arrest.
They're not in the manuals? Well, they sure as hell are in Derek's training manuals.
This photo, included in the court file, appears to show Blackwell using the technique during the 2014 U of M hockey riots. And 34 former Minneapolis police officers signed affidavits swearing they were trained how to do it. But Blackwell's suit says her testimony was truthful and factual, and that Collin cast Blackwell in the role of a conspirator who committed perjury. A book passage says, quote, "It doesn't seem like Inspector Blackwell knows how MPD officers are trained, or maybe she was lying." As a result, in court papers, Blackwell writes that she is not a welcomed person in the police community anymore, facing accusations from other officers that she lied, calling her integrity into question. Blackwell's attorney accused Collin of continuing a theatrical approach at court by inviting crowds of supporters to the hearing.
We love you, Liz. We love you.
But has the now assistant police chief been defamed? The case is far from reaching a conclusion on that central question.
And Collin's attorney, Chris Maddle, argues that under a new Minnesota law that was passed last year to prevent frivolous lawsuits, that the case needs to be dismissed now. Blackwell's attorney argues that the context of her testimony needs to be fleshed out to determine whether the defamation suit has merit.
Lou, you sat through that trial. Clear this up. Isn't there a difference between the technique officers were trained on with Minneapolis police and what Chauvin did to George Floyd?
Yeah, that move, which is called MRT, involves pinning them down until they can be safely rolled over on their side, which is called the recovery technique. Blackwell did get more into that in the federal trial, which was not recorded, so you can't watch testimony from that. We'll have to see if that comes into this case and makes a difference later on.
All right, thanks so much, Lou.